You're new to Neverwinter and want to be a cleric or an arbiter cleric in Neverwinter that can kick some butt too. Hit that like button if you would be so kind, and check out my Neverwinter arbiter cleric build as it stands so far in 2021. Why do you care? Because you're curious or new or newer and trying to figure out how to play your Neverwinter arbiter cleric in 2021 and want to know some very important gameplay tips. Please, especially if you're new to Neverwinter, watch the entire video because you'll find lots of useful Neverwinter gameplay tips throughout this and all my videos. I also have timestamps down below. I recently made a video showing companions, mounts, gear, and boons for my devoted cleric. I'll drop a link down below in the video description so you can check that out too. It's important for you to understand my Neverwinter gameplay style because I'm not using spreadsheets and other monitoring programs to see what works. My hat's off and much respect to players that do these things. I'll have more about my playstyle in a moment. I'd rather trade cryptocurrency than spending all that extra time breaking down specific stats in Neverwinter because I can make a heck of a lot more real money putting my efforts into that. I make Neverwinter videos because I like those of you who like to watch my Neverwinter videos and because I find the gameplay mostly soothing. I've been getting questions from newer, and regular visitors to this channel about how I use a devoted cleric and arbiter cleric. And since Cryptic keeps making major changes to many different parts of Neverwinter's gameplay, I learned that as a player not able to spend half of every day playing Neverwinter, to use a gameplay style adjusted to fit and feed my Neverwinter habit. Since you and I really don't have to have BIS or best in slot equipment, enchantments, companions, and mounts, as players we can focus on building a solid character that teammates will welcome and you can solo with if you wish. If you're more aggressive and have the time, you can adapt to acquire things to be a top healer and DPS as you will. It should be helpful for you to know a bit more about how I play. I play through the new mods as they come out to level up through the campaigns, and I also play some of the special events, and do my daily dungeon runs, and play the auction house. That's a lot of the game for me these days. I don't like to spend an hour or more in a dungeon with a limited payoff. While I really like all of our guild and alliance members, sadly I don't group queue with them often because in my life, if I get a call I have to take it, and don't want to be disrespectful to them by bailing on a coordinated run. I mainly run public queues, but I have a lot of Zen and Astral Diamonds, and also have an Arbiter Cleric and Devoted Cleric that can contribute to a group's efforts and kick butt and survive when soloing. I also don't run the queues that I've found to have a high failure rate or take an excessive amount of time, like Castle Ravenloft, Lair of the Mad Mage, and Tomb of the Nine Gods. I should clarify, I have run these, but I don't run them often. I also don't farm for the new shiny equipment and artifacts with the newest dungeon releases. I find suitable equipment that works, but is a step or two behind Neverwinter's BIS items. That's how I play Neverwinter. I have a lot of other videos to help you on your Neverwinter journey, like how new Neverwinter players can get Astral Diamonds easy, which has some basic AD tips. New Neverwinter players, how to get Astral Diamonds in 2021, which covers many different ways to get AD. Neverwinter 2021 Dreadring Astral Diamond Farming in 2021. Neverwinter 2021 Main Stats Explained, Mount Buying Tips, and Neverwinter New Player Tips, so you can check those out too. I'll drop some links to those videos down in the description too. It's not recommended that you copy this build, but if you're new to Neverwinter, I'll show you what I have so you can see that you don't need the best equipment to play Neverwinter. And because some of you have been asking, my Arbiter Cleric loadout looks like this. As you can see, I'm not using the most recent and shiny and best stuff. So why use your Cleric in Neverwinter? By the way, welcome to Neverwinter if you're new. One of the characters I think is pretty fun to play is the Cleric. In Neverwinter, you can buy and use as many character slots as you wish. Or at least I know of someone who had at least 60 at one point. And if there's a cap, I don't know what it is, but you can play all the classes and character combinations if you wish. But that'll take all your free time in the real world, and you'll miss out on all your life's experiences just to play Neverwinter. If you're like me, then playing a dual-use character like the Cleric can save you some effort. You can use other characters structured for solo or group DPS and Air of Effect or AoE, and single target too, like the Warlock and Paladin. They're also very useful. But this video is about the Arbiter Cleric. It can be very time consuming and expensive to level up a few characters, so I found it's very useful just to focus on a couple characters, or in this case one, and the alternate loadout. And if you're a casual player, this is even more important if you want to be able to experience more of Neverwinter's gameplay, because you'll be crushed by the amount of time, patience, grinding, and possibly money involved to build a solo character that can contribute properly to a party and give you some personal satisfaction in Neverwinter's endgame content. If you end up spreading your resources like refining points, Zen, and Astral Diamonds out to cover too many characters, it'll leave you frustrated later. Fortunately, some items, like enchantments and runestones, can be moved between characters, so that can help a little. But in my opinion, having a character you like and can focus on will help improve your Neverwinter gameplay experience. My weapons are just the Alabaster set that I picked up a few mods back. They aren't great, but I haven't felt like upgrading them. I have a Vorpal rank 12 for a weapon enchantment, have a Tenebros, and a Tactical, some Radiance Demonic, and I'm really just using enchantments that help boost my main stats where I need some additional ratings and percentage boosts. In utilities, I use Dark as a boost to Forte, Azure and Dragon Hordes. Dragon Horde for some extra RP or refining points, and Azure's for an XP bonus, so I can claim extra reward bonuses for leveling up. And I only claim these rewards during very special circumstances, like a 2x AD event, which is very rare these days. Most of the equipment I use is just to fill in my main stats, just like my enchantments, and none of my equipment comes from the Vault of Stars or Infernal Citadel or Castle Ravenloft. What I have comes from regular campaigns and vendors. That's simplifying things a little bit, but my point is none of it's all that hard to get, and it works fine for me. Again, since I've been asked to share my build, this is just what I'm using. And I'm sharing, so take it for what it is. My Neck and Waste artifact set is the old Demon Lord set. I have the Book of Vile Darkness, Arcturus music box, and the Shard of Orcus to complete the Demon Lord set. I have the Envenom Storyteller's Journal, and that's equipped for the AP gain. I also have a Storyteller's artifact choice pack in my inventory, and I'm thinking about getting another of the journals for that bonus month. And if you want to know a little bit more about how the journals work, you can check out my video, Storyteller's Journals Explained. But I haven't opened the pack yet because I could also sell it and make some nice AD and buy it back again later. I'll just show you here. Like this. If you're newer and want more AP as part of your build, I still have my inventory here, the Sigil of the Cleric, and that'll work just fine. You can pick that up from the Vault of Nines quest. It's very nice, even with a low item level, because it gives you 25% of your total action points every 15 seconds. But the old Sigil of the Cleric's still nice, even with a low item level. My Neverwinter Arbiter's Cleric's ability scores have extra points in Constitution, mainly for a bit of the AP gain, and Dexterity for critical severity. In my boons, I have nothing unusual. Hopefully you can see these okay. And I'm not going to go over all these, but at least you can see what I've selected. At least I hope you can. And if you don't know this and want to spend some AD, a good companion can be a good asset. It's been this way for a while in Neverwinter. Sometimes you see players get top DPS scores when you look at their gear and it's not that impressive. One reason is because they have a very good companion selection and have leveled them up. And of course using the proper rotation can be just as important. Don't worry if you're freaked out over the cost of these. You'll get there over time. Just get the best companion you can afford and that complements you. And I have a bit more about companions and augments after the Mod 20 release. You can check that out in my video, Active or Augmented Companions, to learn a bit more about the recent changes to companions. My active companion recently has been the Golden Lion, and it's only upgraded to Legendary as of this video, and I use it for the radiant damage bonus to party members and the damage reductions from Arulink Coalition. Sometimes if I'm soloing though, I use Zuna, which I also have at Legendary, and I've had her for some time. My companion equipment is the Gold Leaf Grimoire, the Gold Icon, and the Choke Chain of the Companion. And I've empowered runestones mostly, and these are just a holdover from the last mod. And I know everyone's jumping on loading up on Indomitable runestones, and that's fine if you want to do that. But if you don't have a lot of resources, do this with a bit of caution, unless you want to just exchange them from your old bonding runestones. Because Cryptic doesn't hesitate to make major changes quickly. You don't want to go all in and grab or level up a bunch of rank 15s if you're stretching, because you could get stung. They've been doing some things to mitigate the frustration by allowing you to exchange the runestones when they get a major change, but I feel like I should warn you about it. Companion power selection, I have Armor Break, Baby Owlbear's Presence, Black Dragon's Insight, Barbarian Shaman's Wisdom, Fire Archean's Insight, and Celestial Lion's Presence. For mounts in my stable, I have a Mythic King of Spines, a Mythic Swift Golden Lion, Epic Leopard of Chult, Legendary Hag's Cauldron, and an Epic Siegebreaker's Griffin for Wondrous Fortune. The rest of my selected mount bonuses are Assassin's Covenant, Oppressor's Reprieve, Berserker's Rage, Warlord's Inspiration. My mount powers are Ariel Armament and Providence, and I'll tell you why I've selected these powers in a moment. Now for my powers, feats, dailies, and class features. My at-wills are Lance of Faith and Conflagrate. Encounters I typically use are Searing Javelin, Daunting Light, and Forged Master's Flame. And I bounce back and forth between Searing Javelin and Daunting Light for mobs, and Forged Master's Flame and Daunting Light for single target. Although sometimes I'll switch out Forged Masters for a boss fight and add Geese or Break the Spirit. I usually leave Daunting Light because it helps when fighting, and I'll share this in action shortly. Because of my setup, it keeps up my divinity, so I can fire off more encounter shots to keep getting damage. And a lot of times damage from bosses is so powerful with scaling that you can tell pretty quickly if a random queue group will make it. Usually now, you'll either complete the run or you won't when you're running the regular AD queues. But in the rare event that we're just close, I'll toss in Bastion of Hell and use the daily Hallowed Ground to help everyone out. As I mentioned, this is one reason I usually leave my Golden Lion's mount powers equipped, because I try to play with a little balance by being strong and dealing damage, but also contribute some additional shielding with Aerial Armament, which protects the group with a shield with a percentage of their hit points, and a percentage bonus as radiant weapon damage. Providence gives party members a chance, when struck, to heal for a percentage of their hit points, and do more damage as radiant damage. As an Arbiter Cleric, I like having the ability to do a significant amount of damage, but also help keep the group together to survive. I could also change out my mount powers and dailies to contribute directly to my personal DPS, but my goal with each run is just to complete it as quickly as possible. I could also do this by adding more loadouts, or changing some things before and after certain boss battles, but I usually just don't feel like doing that, so I don't. I like to leave things where they are, and just make some quick encounter power adjustments on the fly, if I have to. With things set as they are, I have the option to quickly throw out some needed party support, which happens fairly often, and do a satisfying amount of DPS damage. My Neverwinter Arbiter Cleric's rotation usually starts by leading off with Searing Javelin, then I switch to Daunting Light, or I go with Forged Masters, and then Daunting Light. And I keep triggering the feat Light Speed, which enhances Daunting Light, and the feat Sudden Verdict, which when triggered adds either Radiant Judgment or Burning Judgment. And it gets a 25% chance to fill the Judgment gauge. And then Perfect Balance has damage benefits, but when triggered it can restore divinity back to full. And when using the daily Celestial Prominence, it does critical damage, and the feat Critical Sun will kick in, and you can cast it again without AP, like that. And when using Forged Master's Flame, it can trigger Focus Light, which again enhances Daunting Light, to do enhanced single target damage. Do you see the theme here? So first casting Searing Javelin, or Forged Master's Flame, then Daunting Light. This helps keep the divinity bar fuller and do more damage. You'll also have to decide whether to dump your gauge by hitting tab on the PC. I'm not sure what you hit on the console, but you can take the enhanced damage or dump it into divinity to stretch out divinity longer. And I'll kick off my Envenom journal here so you can watch that AP go up. And of course I can always toss in my mount power here too. Sometimes when we charge into a boss battle, I'll kick that off to get things started, to give the group a nice bonus. But watch. So I use my daily one time there. Celestial Prominence. Then I can use it again without the AP. Pretty nice, huh? Check out my Neverwinter's Tips and Hints playlist. I have over 160 Neverwinter Tips videos, and I have other playlists for events and other things in Neverwinter. Thanks for watching.